Nina loved bedtime. Not for the sleep, not exactly, but for the stories. Every night, Grandma Willow would unfold tales of shimmering constellations, brave star sailors, and the gentle giants that painted the Milky Way with stardust. Nina, tucked beneath a quilt stitched with silver moons and golden suns, would listen, her small hands clasped tight, a little knot of worry often tightening in her tummy. She wasn't afraid of the dark, not exactly, but sometimes the vastness of it all felt a lot. Tonight, though, was different. Grandma Willow wasn't telling a story. She was presenting a gift. It was small, wrapped in a velvet cloth the color of twilight. With a flourish, she revealed a needle, slender and gleaming, crafted from what looked like pure silver. "This, my dear Nina," Grandma Willow said, her voice a warm rumble, "is a star-stitching needle." Nina gasped. "A star-stitching needle? What does it do?" Grandma Willow smiled, a network of wrinkles crinkling around her kind eyes. "The night sky, beautiful as it is, isn't perfect. Sometimes, stars fade, or threads of starlight fray. This needle, it mends them. It keeps the balance." "But why me?" Nina asked, clutching the needle. It felt cool and strangely alive in her hand. "Because you, my sweet girl, have a kind heart and a gentle spirit, and a wonderful imagination. Those are the most important tools for a star-stitcher." Grandma Willow explained that the needle wasn't ordinary. It drew its thread from moonlight itself, only appearing when the world was bathed in its silvery glow. She cautioned Nina to use it wisely, explaining that even the smallest stitch could affect the whole sky. "Stars aren't just pretty lights, Nina," Grandma Willow continued, leading Nina to the window. "They guide travelers, inspire dreamers, and hold memories. Every star has a story, and it's our job to help them shine." Later, after Grandma Willow had gone to bed, Nina sat at her small desk, a scrap of dark blue fabric spread before her. She carefully threaded the needle, and as if by magic, a shimmering silver thread appeared. It felt cool to the touch, and pulsed with a soft light. With a tentative hand, she began to stitch. It wasn't easy. The thread seemed to have a mind of its own, wanting to flow and swirl rather than stay in a straight line. But slowly, painstakingly, she created a tiny star, no bigger than her thumbnail. As she finished the last stitch, the little star began to glow, a miniature beacon of light in the dim room. Nina's knot of worry loosened a little. Maybe, just maybe, she could handle the vastness of the night after all. Unbeknownst to Nina, high above the town, a shadowy figure watched from within a swirling cloud. It was Nimbus, a cloud spirit, and he observed Nina's newfound gift with a growing sense of envy. He had once been a beloved guardian of the night, crafting beautiful cloudscapes, but lately he felt overlooked, forgotten. As Nina's tiny star shimmered, Nimbus subtly dimmed a distant star, a small act of defiance, a quiet attempt to remind the world of his presence. He didn't understand the star-stitching needle yet, but he didn't like it. Not one bit. The next night, Nina couldn't wait to test her new skill. She sat by the window, the star-stitching needle warm in her palm, ready to add another tiny star to her blue fabric. But something was wrong. The sky. It looked different. At first, she thought it was just a trick of the light, a wisp of cloud obscuring her view. But then she noticed it again. A star, a small one near the Big Dipper, had simply vanished. "That's odd," she murmured, blinking. Maybe she was just tired. She glanced around, hoping Grandma Willow hadn't noticed, but her grandmother was already fast asleep, a book resting on her chest. Nina focused again on the sky. Another star gone. Then another, and another. Not all at once, but one by one, flickering out like candles in a breeze. A prickle of anxiety ran down her spine. This wasn't normal. It must be the clouds, she told herself, but the sky was mostly clear. The missing stars weren't hidden, they were gone. A wave of dread washed over her, and she remembered Grandma Willow's words, "It keeps the balance." The star-stitching needle. That was it. She had to use it. She raced to her desk, the blue fabric already laid out. She threaded the needle, but this time, nothing happened. No shimmering thread appeared. She tried again, and again, her hands trembling slightly. Still nothing. "What's wrong?" she whispered, frustration mounting. Then she remembered Grandma Willow's other instruction. The thread. It draws its power from moonlight. She looked out the window. The moon was a pale sliver, hidden behind a few wispy clouds. Not enough. Nina waited, pacing her room. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Finally, a break in the clouds revealed the moon in all its silvery glory. As the moonlight streamed through the window, the needle hummed, and a thread of pure, shimmering light materialized. Taking a deep breath, Nina searched the sky for a fallen star. She spotted a faint glimmer, a wisp of light tumbling downwards, growing fainter with each passing second. It was close to the horizon, almost lost in the darkness. This was it. With trembling hands, she focused on the falling star, picturing it bright and whole. She began to stitch, carefully following the path of the fading light. The moonlight thread felt different now, almost urgent, as if echoing the star's desperate plea. It was incredibly difficult. The thread kept slipping, the star's light flickering erratically. She concentrated, pouring all her focus into each stitch, remembering Grandma Willow's gentle encouragement. Slowly, painstakingly, a faint line of silver began to connect with the falling star. But it wasn't enough. The star continued to fall, and the thread seemed to stretch thinner and thinner, barely holding on. Just then, a voice startled her. "What are you doing, Nina? Talking to the sky again?" It was Leo, her best friend, peering through her window. Nina jumped. "Lau! You scared me. And I'm not just talking to the sky. Stars are falling." Leo chuckled. "Falling? Stars don't just fall, Nina. You've been reading too many of Grandma Willow's stories. But I'm telling you, I saw them. And I have to fix them." She held up the needle and the shimmering thread. Leo raised an eyebrow, skepticism etched on his face. "A star-stitching needle? Seriously?" "It's true. Grandma Willow gave it to me. It mends the stars." Nina pleaded, "Please, just look with me. Just for a little while. You'll see." Leo sighed, but he couldn't resist Nina's earnest plea. Okay, I'll look. But if I don't see any falling stars, you owe me a double scoop of ice cream." As they both gazed at the night sky, a particularly large pocket of darkness began to spread, swallowing a cluster of stars. Nimbus, hidden within the swirling shadows, relished the growing power. Each extinguished star fueled his energy, making him feel stronger, more visible. He laughed silently, a chilling sound lost in the vastness of space. Nina took a deep breath, clutching the star-stitching needle. "Close your eyes," Grandma Willow's voice echoed in her mind, "and focus on the moonlight. Imagine the thread pulling you upward." She squeezed her eyes shut, Leo's skeptical face fading from her memory. She pictured the silvery thread extending from the needle, not into the dark sky, but into herself, a gentle tugging sensation spreading through her limbs. It felt like falling, but not downwards. More like floating. A kaleidoscope of colors exploded behind her eyelids. Swirls of lavender, rose, and gold danced before her vision, accompanied by a soft, humming melody. When she finally dared to open her eyes, she gasped. She wasn't in her bedroom anymore. Above her stretched a boundless expanse unlike anything she'd ever imagined. It wasn't the black of night, but a swirling, iridescent canvas filled with nebulae that shimmered like spilled paint. Stars weren't distant pinpricks of light, they were enormous glowing orbs, some resting peacefully on soft, cloud-like platforms, others slowly rotating, radiating warmth. The air itself felt dreamy, light and effervescent.
"Welcome to the Dream Sheath," a teeny voice chirped.
Nina looked down and saw a creature no bigger than her hand, glowing with a soft blue light. It had delicate, dragonfly-like wings and a friendly, inquisitive face.
"What are you?" Nina stammeret.
"We are dream creatures," the little being replied, flitting around Nina's head. "We tend to the stars when they need to rest and recharge. This is where they come to dream, you see."
Dream.
Oh yes. Stars dream of galaxies far away, of new planets forming, of the stories they witness down on Earth.
Another dream kreature, this one a vibrant orange, zippet over.
"You are a star stitcher, aren't you?" We felt your arrival.
A strong, kind heart, dedicated to the ballons.
Nina nodded, overwhelmed. Grandma Willow said this place existed, but it's even more amazing than she described. Grandma Willow is a wise woman, the blue dream creature said. But the dream skies are in trouble.
A darkness is spreading, unraveling the constellations.
Following the dream creatures, Nina floated towards a magnificent, but incomplete, constellation, the Lyra, the Harp. Several of its stars were loose, dangling by frayed threads of moonlight, their glow dimmed and flickering. This is one of the oldest constellations, the orange dream creature explained. It's losing its shape. If it unravels completely, the music of the spheres will be silenced. Nina felt a surge of determination. She carefully threaded the star-stitching needle with moonlight, the thread glowing brighter in this realm. As she began to stitch, she realized it wasn't like stitching fabric. It was more like guiding energy, coaxing the stars back into alignment. But as she worked, the path ahead began to shift. The cloud platforms rearranged themselves, blocking her way. Illusions flickered at the edge of her vision, shadowy figures and swirling vortexes. Nimbus, the blue dream creature whispered, its light dimming slightly. He doesn't want you to succeed. He's trying to confuse you, to lead you astray.
Suddenly, the sky darkened, and a chilling wind swept through the dream sheath.
A distorted voice echoed around them.
Foolish child.
You think you can fix what is broken?
The night is mean to shape.
A swirling wall of dark clouds materialized before them, blocking their path to the Lyra. Nina gripped the star-stitching needle, her heart pounding. This wasn't just about fixing stars anymore. This was a challenge. Nina, guided by the faint trail of stolen starlight, pressed onward, the dream creatures fluttering anxiously around her. The vibrant colors of the dream skies began to fade, replaced by a bruised, stormy gray. The air grew heavy, crackling with an unsettling energy. He's close, the orange dream creature, Flicker, chirped nervously. Very close. Ahead, looming through the swirling mist, rose a fortress unlike anything Nina could have imagined. It wasn't built of stone or metal, but of dense, roiling clouds, constantly shifting and reforming. Jagged spires of dark gray reached towards the dimming sky, and flashes of lightning illuminated the fortress's menacing silhouette. A constant rumble, like distant thunder, emanated from within. That's Nimbus's lair, the blue dream creature, Lumi, whispered, her light barely a flicker. It wasn't always like this. It used to be a place of gentle rain and peaceful shadows. Taking a deep breath, Nina approached cautiously. As she neared, she could see the stolen stars, dozens of them, trapped within the fortress walls, their light dimmed and distorted, feeding into a central vortex of power. At the heart of the fortress, atop the highest spire, stood Nimbus. He was a towering figure composed entirely of storm clouds, his form constantly shifting and swirling. His eyes glowed with an intense, unsettling light, and a cruel smile played on his cloudy lips. He was absorbing the stolen starlight, his form growing larger and more imposing with each captured orb. The fortress itself seemed to pulse with his growing power. So, the little star stitcher finally arrives, Nimbus boomed, his voice like the crashing of waves. Come to reclaim your precious stars? How predictable. He gestured around the fortress with a sweeping motion of his cloudy arm. Look at them. Dim, insignificant sparks. They were wasted, scattered across the meaningless blackness. Now, they serve a purpose. They fuel. Nina stared, horrified, as Nimbus continued to siphon the star's energy. The fortress throbbed with stolen light, casting eerie shadows across the dream skies. Why are you doing this? Nina asked, her voice trembling slightly. Why steal the stars? Nimbus let out a chilling laugh. Control, little one. For centuries, I was a forgotten shadow, a mere whisper in the wind. I protected the skies, yes, brought the gentle rains, but no one noticed. They only looked up at the stars, admired their brilliance. Now, I will reshape the night in my image. A sky that reflects my moods, dramatic storms, breathtaking sunsets, a sky worthy of attention. He paused, his gaze fixing on Nina. Don't you understand? It's not about malice. It's about being seen. Nina watched him, and a strange realization dawned on her. Beneath the bluster and the power, Nimbus wasn't entirely evil. He was lonely. Desperately, achingly lonely. He didn't want to destroy the night, he wanted to maturto it. Meanwhile, back in the waking world, Leo was hunched over a dusty book in his attic, surrounded by stacks of mythology and folklore. He'd taken Nina's story seriously, driven by a quiet determination to help. Cloud spirits, he muttered, flipping through the pages. Ah, here it is. An old legend states that cloud spirits are deeply affected by sound, especially soothing melodies. Their forms are fluid, vulnerable to harmonious vibrations. He grabbed his grandfather's old wind chime, a delicate instrument crafted from polished seashells. Maybe this can help. Back in the dream skies, Nina continued to observe Nimbus. She noticed how his form flickered with sadness between bursts of arrogant power. He wasn't reveling in destruction. He was desperately trying to fill a void. She realized Grandma Willow's wisdom extended beyond stitching stars. It was about understanding hearts, even cloudy ones. Taking a deep breath, Nina stepped forward, her small form a stark contrast to Nimbus's overwhelming presence. She didn't raise her voice, didn't accuse, didn't even flinch at the gusts of wind he sent swirling around her. Instead, she began to sing. It wasn't a powerful song, not at first. Just a soft, gentle melody, a lullaby her Grandma Willow had taught her long ago. It was a song about peaceful skies and whispering winds, about finding comfort in the darkness and the quiet beauty of the night. Hush now, little darkness, let the starlight guide your way. Close your cloudy curtains, till a brighter, brand new day. The notes, clear and pure, drifted through the fortress, a fragile offering in the face of Nimbus's storm. At first, nothing happened. Nimbus simply scoffed, his form crackling with energy. A lullaby? You think a lullaby can stop me? He boomed, but even his voice sounded slightly strained. But as Nina continued to sing, something began to shift. The stolen stars within the fortress walls flickered, their dimmed light pulsing hesitantly. A subtle tremor ran through Nimbus's cloudy form. The wind, though still strong, lost some of its ferocity. The dream creatures, sensing a change, rallied around Nina. Flicker, Lumi, and the others began to hum along, their tiny voices blending with hers, amplifying the lullaby's power. Their light grew brighter, casting a soft glow over the stormy landscape. Sleep now, troubled spirit, let your worries fade away. Dream of gentle raindrops, and a brighter, hopeful day. Nimbus roared in frustration, summoning a torrent of rain and wind. The fortress shook, and the stolen stars flared momentarily, then dimmed again. He was fighting the song, resisting its calming influence. Stop it! He bellowed, his voice laced with a desperate edge. Stop that infernal noise. It's unsettling. He swirled and churned, trying to drown out the melody, but the lullaby persisted, weaving its way into the very fabric of his being. As she sang, Nina remembered a story Grandma Willow had told her, a story about the early days of Nimbus. He hadn't always been a lonely, power-hungry spirit. He had been a protector of the skies, a gentle guardian who guided lost travelers and brought life-giving rain to parched lands. But over time, as people stopped noticing his quiet acts of kindness, he had grown forgotten, his purpose lost. A wave of compassion washed over Nina. She understood now. Nimbus wasn't trying to destroy the night, he was trying to reclaim his place in it. She closed her eyes, pouring all her empathy and kindness into the song. The dream creature's humming swelled, becoming a chorus of soothing sounds. The lullaby resonated with a newfound strength, a beacon of hope in the heart of the storm. Rest now, weary watcher, your long vigil nearly done. Let the stars remind you, you are loved by everyone. Nimbus writhed in the center of the fortress, his form becoming increasingly unstable. Cracks began to appear in the cloudy walls, and stolen starlight leaked out, illuminating the dream skies with fleeting bursts of color. He was weakening, his control slipping. Nina didn't stop singing. She couldn't. The lullaby was a lifeline, not just for Nimbus, but for the stars themselves. As the final verses echoed through the crumbling fortress, she reached for the star-stitching needle. It felt warm in her hand, pulsing with a gentle light. She glanced at the spool of moonlight thread, noticing something new. It shimmered brighter now, almost glowing with an inner radiance. Grandma Willow's words echoed in her mind, "The thread strengthens with kindness, little one." Taking a deep breath, Nina began to stitch. She focused on the nearest stolen star, a tiny speck of diminished light trapped within a swirling cloud. Carefully, she guided the needle through the dream fabric of the sky, drawing the moonlight thread around the star's fading glow. As the first stitch was completed, a ripple of energy spread outwards. The star flickered, then blazed with renewed brilliance. A small section of Nimbus's fortress crumbled, dissolving into harmless wisps of cloud. Nimbus cried out, a sound less of anger now, and more of pain. "No, stop," he rasped, clutching at his head.
It burns."
"It's not meant to hurt," Nina said softly, her voice carrying over the diminishing storm.
"It's meant to heal, to bring the light back."
She continued, stitch by stitch, star by star. Each completed stitch sent a surge of light through the dream skies, weakening Nimbus further and restoring a piece of the night. The fortress groaned and cracked with every restored constellation, its dark walls slowly giving way to the vibrant colors of the dream skies. Meanwhile, a gentle chime resonated through the dream skies. It wasn't part of the lullaby, but a harmonious addition. Leo, back in the real world, had remembered the wind chime Grandma Willow had given him. A chime said to soothe even the most troubled spirits. He hung it outside his window, letting the breeze carry its calming melody into the night, and somehow into Nina's world.
"It's working,"
Flicker chirped, flitting excitedly around Nina's head. "The chime. It's helping to calm Nimbus even more." With each star she restored, Nina felt a deeper connection to Nimbus. She saw his fear, his loneliness, the aching emptiness that had driven him to steal the starlight. It wasn't about power, not really. It was about being seen. As she stitched a particularly large constellation, the Great Bear, Nimbus finally broke down. He sank to his knees, his cloudy form shrinking and becoming translucent. "I just wanted someone to notice me," he whispered, his voice barely audible. For so long, no one looked up anymore. They were too busy with their own lights, their own worries. I tried to protect them, to bring the rain, but they didn't even see me. So I thought if I had the light, they would have to look. Nina paused her stitching, her heart aching with compassion. "Grandma Willow says everyone deserves to be seen, Nimbus. Even the clouds. But I'm not beautiful like the stars," he said, a hint of desperation in his voice. "I'm just gray." "You create the most amazing sunsets," Nina said quickly. "And the soft rain that helps everything grow. You make the most beautiful shapes in the sky, sometimes."
"Ivy seen you."
She smiled gently. "You're important, Nimbus. You always have been." As she spoke, the moonlight thread seemed to glow even brighter, infused with her sincerity. She resumed stitching, her movements now imbued not just with skill, but with profound empathy. Nina's fingers danced with the needle, guided by a newfound confidence. The moonlight thread, now radiating a warm, silver glow, effortlessly stitched the final star back into place. As the last stitch secured, a wave of pure, brilliant light erupted, washing over the dream skies. Nimbus gasped, shielding his eyes. The crumbling of his fortress accelerated, but this time, it wasn't destructive. Instead, the falling cloud fragments transformed into swirling ribbons of pastel colors, joining the existing tapestry of the dream skies. The fortress itself didn't disappear entirely, but reshaped itself into a series of gentle, rolling hills, covered in luminescent moss. Slowly, Nimbus lowered his hands, his form regaining solidity, though still noticeably less imposing. He looked at the sky, at the constellations blazing with restored glory, and a single shimmering tear traced a path down his cloudy cheek. It's beautiful," he breathed, his voice filled with awe. "More beautiful than I ever imagined." With a wave of his hand, the remaining stolen starlight, a swirling orb of captured brilliance, dissolved and scattered across the dream skies, rejoining its brethren. The night felt complete, balanced, I release them, he said, a hint of shame in his voice. All of them. I understand now. Taking their light didn't make me brighter. It just made everything else dimmer. A figure materialized beside Nina, radiating warmth and wisdom. It was Grandma Willow, her eyes twinkling like the stars themselves. You've done well, little Star Stitcher, she said, placing a hand on Nina's shoulder. You didn't just mend the sky, you mended a heart. Nina beamed, then turned to Nimbus, who was still gazing at the restored constellations with a mixture of wonder and regret. Will you be all right? Nimbus slowly turned, a tentative smile forming on his face. I think so. I still want to be a part of the night, but not like this. I want to add to its beauty, not take away from it. He paused, then looked at Nina with newfound determination. I can create patterns with the clouds, you know. Gentle rain to nourish the world. I can be a guardian, too. I know you can, Nina said, her voice filled with sincerity. We can be guardians together. Suddenly, the dream skies erupted in a chorus of joyful chirps and shimmering lights. The dream creatures, Flicker and countless others, swarmed around Nina and Nimbus, their tiny bodies pulsing with excitement. They danced and twirled, creating intricate patterns of light and color, a celebration of the restored sky and the unlikely friendship that had blossomed within it. She saved us all, Flicker exclaimed, landing on Nina's nose. She showed Nimbus that even clouds can shine. Nimbus chuckled, a sound like distant thunder, but gentle and warm. He reached out and gently nudged a swirling cloud, shaping it into a magnificent, shimmering swan. Perhaps I can even learn a few new tricks, he said, winking at Nina. Grandma Willow smiled. The night is vast, my dear. There's room for all kinds of light, all kinds of beauty. And sometimes, all it takes is a little kindness to remind us of that. She looked at both Nina and Nimbus. Remember, even the darkest clouds hold the promise of a beautiful sunset. Nina felt a warmth spread through her, a feeling of peace and accomplishment. She had faced her fears, confronted a lonely spirit, and helped restore balance to the night. And in doing so, she had found a friend in the most unexpected of places. A gentle warmth nudged Nina awake. She blinked, disoriented for a moment, then remembered the dream skies, Nimbus, and the restored constellations. Sunlight streamed through her bedroom window, painting golden stripes across her quilt. She sat up, a lingering sense of wonder clinging to her like stardust. She glanced out the window and gasped. The morning sky was a breathtaking shade of blue, with just a hint of the lingering magic from the night before. The stars, though invisible in the daylight, felt closer, brighter, somehow, even in their absence. A smile touched her lips. It hadn't been a dream. It had been real. She could still feel the smooth coolness of the star-stitching needle in her hand, the gentle tug of the moonlight thread. She slipped out of bed and hurried to her desk, where her collection of constellation charts and astronomy books lay scattered. She picked up her silver needle and a scrap of dark blue fabric, and began to stitch. Not to mend a fallen star, but to create. She envisioned a new constellation, a tiny, glowing tribute to her friendship with Nimbus. A swirling cloud with a single brilliant star nestled within it. A knock on her door startled her.
Nina, you up already? It was Leo.
Yeah, she called back, quickly hiding her stitching project under a book.
Come in.
Leo entered, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. You look different. Like you actually slept well for once. Nina hesitated, remembering her earlier attempts to convince him of the dream skies. I had a really interesting dream, she began cautiously.
Oh.
Leo raised an eyebrow, a skeptical glint in his eyes. Taking a deep breath, she decided to tell him everything. She described the falling stars, the journey into the dream skies, Nimbus's lonely fortress, and the lullaby that had saved the night. She told him about Flicker and the dream creatures, and about Grandma Willow's wisdom. Leo listened in silence, his initial skepticism slowly giving way to astonishment. He didn't interrupt, didn't question, just listened. When she finished, he stared at her for a long moment, his mouth slightly open. Wow, he finally breathed. That's incredible. You actually went into the dream skies? Nina nodded, her heart swelling with relief. I did. And I met a cloud spirit named Nimbus. He wasn't trying to be bad, he was just lonely. Leo shook his head in disbelief. I can't believe I didn't believe you before. It all makes sense now, the disappearing stars, your late-night stitching. Everything. He paused, then grinned. You're like a real-life star guardian. Nina laughed. Maybe. But I couldn't have done it without you. You helped me watch the sky, and you were always there to listen. As if on cue, a gentle patter of rain began to fall outside. But this wasn't an ordinary rain. Each droplet shimmered with a faint, silvery light, sparkling like 1,000 tiny stars. Leo rushed to the window. Look! He exclaimed. It's sparkling rain. Nina joined him, her eyes wide with wonder. It's Nimbus, she whispered. He's saying thank you. They stood there for a long time, watching the sparkling rain fall, a silent testament to their shared adventure and the unlikely friendship they had witnessed. Nina knew, with a certainty that warmed her from the inside out, that she would never forget her journey into the dream skies. She understood the power of courage, the importance of kindness, and the magic that could happen when you remembered everyone, even lonely cloud spirits. And as she drifted off to sleep that night, she knew that she could always return to the dream skies, to mend and protect the stars, and to visit her friend, the cloud spirit who had finally found his place among them.